to Ipoh only once a month. So he came, and a team of doctors, and I think young doctors came, and they checked me. And the first thing they checked me was my eyesight. I had been in the specialist hospital for a month. And in the dim, they have curtains. I didn't have my spectacles. My right eye was badly affected, so I could only see a little bit through my right eye. And in the dim of the hospital room, I could see almost nothing. So when I was transferred to the general hospital, the first thing they checked was my eyesight. And the neurosurgeon would say, "How many fingers can you see? How many fingers can you see? How many fingers?" And each doctor took turn to ask me how many fingers I could see. And I think I must have given them many wrong answers. One very young Malay doctor asked me, "How many faces do I have?" Without looking, I said, "One." It's natural, isn't it? Everybody has only one face. Then she said, "Look carefully, look carefully. How many faces can you see?" Then I opened my little bit of my right eye, and I said, "God, you have two." Gosh, I was suffering from double vision because I couldn't move my right eye. I couldn't move. My right eye was like a block of wood, like a stone, a pebble that couldn't move, like the steering wheel of your car that couldn't turn left or right, up or down. I couldn't steer my eyeball. It was dead straight. So the doctor recommended me to see the eye specialist of the hospital. I was taken on a wheelchair. I couldn't even sit. I was slouching down. I was like a piece of jelly. I couldn't even hold up my spine. See? They took me to see this eye specialist. I remembered her name. She was called Dr. Subramaniam. So the nurse took me inside a dark room, and they switched on a grid, like a graph board with squares, with square lines. And she would use the control, like the TV control, and shine a light on the screen. And then I have a similar one, so that I can coordinate my spotlight on the spot of light on the board. I think the light, the spot of light, she moved left and right, up and down, diagonally across, and every spot was wrong. I couldn't coordinate my spotlight on hers. But I was very naive. Not for a moment did I think that I was now a strokey. And very naively, I told the doctor, "What's wrong with my eye?" She said, "There's nothing wrong with your eye." I said, "What? Nothing wrong with my eye? Then why are you shaking your head?" And she said, "You are suffering from double vision, what we call a lazy eye." Then the nurse was going to take me back. I said, "Wait, you have not given me medicine." And the doctor said, "There's no medicine." And still naively we asked her, "Will I be well? Will my eyesight be okay?" And she said, "Only," I will quote, she said, "only time will tell." And with that, I was taken back to the ward. And the nurses told my sons, Every time you come in the evening, please take your mother to see television. Television. I couldn't even sit up. How can I see television? And with my eyesight, you want me to see television? Yes, the doctor said. And so I was taken to see television every evening by my sons. I couldn't even sit in the wheelchair. I was sliding down every minute. They had to haul me up and down onto the sofa and watch TV. It was not entertainment. It was exercise for my eyes. And with the little vision that I had on my right eye, I told my son, normally, you know, when my son comes, it's 7 o'clock and it's news time. And newsreaders, there are always two newsreaders. Yeah? One lady, one man. They said, Joan, how is it that nowadays they have 4 news readers? And I didn't realize it's something wrong with my eye. I said, my goodness, 2 news readers not enough. Now they put on 4 news readers. And so I had to go through that. Then I told my Dharma brothers and sisters, I said, hey, I am now so free, you know. I could slur. I couldn't speak like what I'm speaking now in my very slurred language. I said, I have plenty of time in hospital. I can do a lot of my prayers. And I have been doing a lot of Kuan Yin, Avalokiteshvara, Sadhana, the prayer, about 37 pages long, in Tibetan language. Then I said, please photocopy this sadhana so that I can continue with my practice every day. And so my friends brought a photocopy of the sadhana, and I was very eager and waiting for them to leave. And the moment when they left, I wanted to do my sadhana. At that time, I still couldn't sit up by myself. My right hand began to move. It was already the 5th week of my stroke. My right hand was able to move. My left side completely paralyzed. So while lying down, I could hold the book like this. And I read the lines, the prayer, yeah, taking refuge. And the moment I opened my eye, I began to cry. Because the rows of writing were not in rows. They were like railway lines, crisscrossing each other and moving, you know, like the railway crossing. I said, goodness, I have all the time in the world and I can't do my practice. Of course, I could only recite the mantra, but the rest of the prayers I wasn't able to memorize because it was in Tibetan. Then when my son came in the evening, I told him, and he said, Mom, close your left eye and read with your right. Then close your right eye and read with your left. Such a simple thing. I didn't know. I had to be taught. I had to be told. And so I did. I closed the left eye and read a few lines with my right, then closed my right eye, and this I could see almost nothing. I couldn't move my eye because I told you it was stationary. I could only move the book. And so I read. And this went on for 1 or 2 weeks. And little did I realize that by doing so, I was forcing my left eye to move. Yeah. And after 2 weeks, And after 2 weeks in that hospital, one morning when I lifted my book up, gosh, I could see the writing in rows without the crisscrossing. And so when the doctor came, I told him, I said, "Doctor, I can read, I can read." And then, you know, the first time when I came to the hospital, I had lost so much weight. My face was in a terrible shape. I couldn't move, I couldn't speak, I couldn't do anything. It was just a lump of human flesh. And he never knew I was educated. So he said, "What can you read? What can you read?" And I said, "I could read my prayers." And so he looked around. There were no books, no magazines, no newspapers. But my sadhana was on the bed. And so the nurse took it out and said, "Read." And so I read. You know, I read the refuge lines in Tibetan. And the doctor just smiled like that. And then he wrote something in the book, in my record. And the next thing I knew was the nurse took me down to see the eye specialist. And going through the same test, wow, the results were amazing. The doctor said, "Goodness." I said, "What?" He said, "Did any sensei come to your room? Are you on Chinese medication? Is there a sensei coming to your room to treat you?" I said, "No." I said, "Why?" Then he said, "How come your sight improved so fast in so short a time? You can almost see now it's 85% correct." I said, "I only read my prayers." So all of you can now see the power of prayer. Do not wait until there is a crisis to depend on the power of prayer. Do it every day. Do it every day. That crisis may not come, or it may come in a very, very small, reduced state. So from there, I had to learn to sit, to stand, to walk, to run. I had the second lease of life. I had to learn everything from scratch. I had even to write my letters of the alphabet. I will tell you this. Those of you who have little children, the most difficult letter to write is 0. Because I was a teacher, I taught myself to write. I started, so maybe you will start with 2-year-olds, writing only with straight lines. Letters like T1, capital L, capital H, capital F, capital E. Then the slanting strokes like Y, K, V. The curved lines are the most difficult to manage. And so I taught myself to write. Then my son, who came back from London, he had to stay with me almost 1 year. He stopped working in London. He was with me. He had to take me to physiotherapy 4 times a week, every afternoon, to learn to walk, to start my life, to start all movements. Yeah. And so I could tell you some of the very, very things that affected me.